Welcome to the war. Back again with another battle report, and this time with the Barons War. It's been an interesting realization of mine, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a ramble here right off the bat, that despite all of my real life adventures this summer and other priorities beyond my hobby, I spent the whole summer really like thinking and planning and dreaming about getting back into Napoleonic gaming and building armies and everything like that. And I'm still painting those models, trying to be persistent there, and that'll be for another video. But the draw I find of medieval wargaming has me just kind of coming back to fighting with, knights and squires and sergeants and peasants all, doing their medieval thing. So it's interesting. I really have found, when I got into historical wargaming in a nutshell, I was heavily into World War II. That was my gateway, and the game I spent, a very long time, or a period I spent a lot of time focusing on. And then I kind of went crazy, like just trying out like all kinds of different things. I was trying ancients and Napoleonics and medieval things and Vikings and everything else that you could possibly think of. I'm looking at all the models around my game room right now. But there's something about just this period, the kind of everything from, I'd say, the Normans through to the Wars of the Roses just has me kind of captivated. Or just there's something about it that I seem to pull back. And anyway, I hope that somewhat explains my, if anyone watched my last video where I was very focused on all things Napoleonic, and now here we are fighting with knights on horseback and such. But anyway, enough being said. I also, frankly, love the Barons War game. I love the mechanics. I love the list building and everything like that. I'm going to get to the list themselves in a moment, but anyway, that's enough of that right now. I hope that just explains kind of my somewhat ricochet gaming habits, as it were. I know we all have them. I'm certainly a gaming butterfly, or a wargaming butterfly as it comes. But anyway, with that preamble out of the way, let's take a look at what we're doing here. So as I said, we're gonna be playing the Barons War, and it's gonna be scenario 13, raid the village. So I'll just read the little preamble or the flavor text, which says, short on supplies, you've decided to raid a local village. When you arrived, you discovered you weren't the only commander to have this idea. So the basic scenario terms for this game, you'll notice those. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm using Saga dice as objective markers, but there's 6 objective markers around the village. And it's a 5-turn game, and whoever controls the most objectives at the end of 5 turns is declared the winner. Or if any player controls 4 objectives by the end of the or at the end of a game round, then they automatically win too. So that's the scenario. I'll roll in real time for the deployment setup. Always one of my favorite things about this game is the very random nature of deployment zones. So I always find that exciting and like to capture that on camera. So we'll get to that, but first, let's take a look at the forces. Okay, as I said, I really do like the list building aspect of this game. I find it very granular, or gives the right level of granularity that I find I'm adding more kind of customizations to my forces. I enjoy the simplicity of games like Lion Rampant, where a unit is a unit is a unit. And the new edition, I guess, does have allow for a little bit of customization. But this game, I feel like, really lets you tail a specific force. So, and also I was going to say, I've been fighting a number of different games with this game, still finding what I like kind of the size of the game. This is going to be an approximately 500-point game. And rather than, I found myself doing these kind of constant elite level force of knights, heavily armored knights, mounted cavalry, facing off against typically Robin Hood and his merry men, or a horde of peasants. I've tried to make this game very specifically less about that. They're both, I would say, from a numbers point of view, roughly similar, and there's no sort of what I call like really either tooled up unit or anything like that. So in fact, the only knight involved is the commander of the other side. We'll get to that. Right now, let's take a look at this force. So leading the force, and I'm glad I I got him painted, is this chap here. That's the Priest of Wimentun, and I will be using him as a special character and using his special character rules. He's the force commander for this side. The unit that he's going to be with are these militant monks here. There's 8 of them, and using the command options or upgrades for the Priest of Wimentun, they're going to be also including a pennant or a banner and a musician. So, and for what it's worth, I figure I'll use the guy carrying the cross as the pennant, and the guy with the hymn book on the left there. He's my singer or the musician. So he's going to be doing that. And the let's see, the monks, or the priests, they are graded as, I think I made them irregular, or so they're going to be irregular. Then we've got 8 slings. They're levy that are armed with slings. They're not the slingers from the Death and Taxes book. They are ranked or rated green. Then I've got two units of bow. The first is this unit of bow of 8. They're ranked regular and armed with bows, and I think I gave them padded armor. Over here we've got 3 more bows. Those are ranked green. They're also going to be green. Just a small unit. Figure there's kind of an objective holding unit. And then over here I've got a unit of 8 green spearmen. So they're going to be doing their thing. Again, not an entirely green force, but not an entirely elite force either. So that's this one force. Let's go take a look at the warband they'll be facing off against. Their opponents, and this is the force you saw when I was having my ramble at the beginning of the game. They're going to be led by this veteran mounted lord here. So yeah, he's pretty tooled up with sword and a medium shield, and then his command group is made up of these 4 veteran mounted sergeants. I think they're going to be a pretty potent group together, and I think they'll certainly be able to grab an objective. And then I've got 2 units here. These are separate units, each of 6. Let me just check. I think I made them. They're the green unit for this side. So they're, yes, 2 units of 6 green crossbows each. They'll be again looking to do some damage. I find green crossbows a pretty useful tool. 4 spearmen here. Sorry, I wrote the list yesterday as I was putting these all together, so it's not too fresh in mind. They're irregular. There's 4 of them. They've got spears. No other kit for them. And then this was a game time decision. I initially had a unit of 8 sergeants with they're still in with their falchions and shields, medium shields. I split them into 2 units of 4, kind of at the last minute. Once I figured out what the scenario would be, and the fact that they'd be able to split up and grab, be able to hold another objective or hold down it rather than moving around as one bigger unit. So I think both sides has equal amounts of units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, no. This unit does actually have 1 more unit. So that might be an important part of how the game plays out. So with that said, let me get the book out and figure out what deployment zone we're going to have. Stay tuned. Okay, time to roll in the deployment map, and I'm just going to roll a d20 until we get a number between 1 and 12, and that will help determine the deployment map. You'll notice here, it slipped my mind. These are, the table size for this is 4 foot by 3 foot. I simply just took 6 inches off each size of what I was originally playing on with a 4 by 4 foot table. It doesn't affect where the objectives are set up or anything like that. So I think we should be in good shape to be doing that. So anyway, let's see what we're gonna roll here and get going. So 14, 19, we're rolling here for a while. 12, all right. Oh, fascinating. Okay, 12, we're gonna have this deployment map situated here. And then I'm going to say that we're going to roll 2 d10s here, and the highest number will get to choose which of those zones they deploy. So I'm going to basically call these the sergeants, refer to these as the sergeant's force and the priest's force. So the sergeant's force rolls a 2 and the priest's rolls a 1. Oh, okay, all right. So the sergeants, they're going to choose where to deploy first. I think given that they're more mobile, I'll have them deploy in the blue zones. So let me continue with deployment. We'll get everything set up and then take a look at the battlefield. Deployment's ready, and this is a great example of rules from different sections of a rule book or from a set of rules clashing and kind of creating untenable outcomes. Let's put it that way. So the rules stipulate that there's a for the mission or for the scenario that there's a village at the center of the table and no objectives can be 6 inches from the edge. But now, since I rolled that deployment zone where one force is in the center of the table, they already control a significant number of objectives. And as I said, initially, the rules stipulate for the scenario that if a unit holds 4 or more objectives at the end of any turn, then they automatically win. I don't think that's really going to work with how this is set up. So we'll kind of play it by ear, but and there could have even been a way I set this up where the priest's force is already controlling most of the objectives, but we're going to play it out anyway. Let's see what happens. I don't think it would be particularly fun if at the end of the first turn that it's automatically over just like that. So we might scrap that rule. We'll see how this goes. But for now, let's take a look at what we've got deployed. So again, I'll start with the priest's force. So over here on this side of the table, I've got the unit of spearmen and the unit of slingers, really kind of ably defending this objective. They've certainly got a massive numbers there. Over here, and if they're not within range, then they're certainly very close to it. Those 3 those 3 archers or longbowmen, or bowmen, there we go, are very close to that objective, but also, looking to pin things down there. I thought it was only natural that the priests and the commander should be around the center of the village, around the cross statue. So they're holding an objective there. And then we've got the last unit of bowmen over here. And again, they're also holding an objective. So that center line deployment zone of theirs really kind of helped them go on. And thematically, maybe it represents the fact that these are all villagers of this place, and they're naturally there already. It's their town, so of course they hold the objectives. So then, that being said, the sergeants, they're more out on the edges. You can see this line of white dice here along the edge. That represents the edge of the table, but they're pushed up within the edge of their deployment zone. And I put 6 of the crossbows here and 4 of the sergeants with the falchions over here. So they're looking to cause some trouble, I feel like, with the warrior priests or the militant monks. Let's take a scooch around this line of trees here. And you can see the mounted sergeants with the commander. They're there. They are also holding an objective. I think that's an important thing to denote. Again, really kind of at the limit of the deployment zone there, but they're within range. And then the rest of the force deployed over here. We've got 4 spears, 4 sergeants, and the 6 crossbowmen, all looking to push down on this side of the table. So with that being said, I'll start getting on with the first turn, and hopefully I think we've got an exciting game. It should be an interesting clash. Let's get started. Turn 1, and a lot of exciting things happen. So I'll try and go in order of how things proceeded. So to start with, there was a group of these slingers who are now unfortunately all the way over here. They opened fire on the commander and the sergeants, the mounted sergeants, and inflicted a casualty. But that wasn't enough to really deter them, and they then charged into the slingers, killed 2 of them, forcing a morale check, which they then failed, and are running away broken. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of glare on that token there. So the slingers are broken. Outside, but then in a rapid follow-up, the spearmen here then charged into the sergeants and the lord, and were able to be able to push them back. They did inflict another casualty that caused them to push back. So that really impacted how that all played out. Over here, the spearmen were able to take the objective here. The tiny unit of bow here shot, but it really didn't do anything. I would say over on this side, let's scooch around here. So there was an exchange of fire between the bowman here, who shot at the crossbows, inflicted 2 casualties, pushing them back. The crossbows then fired back, but weren't able to do anything effective. Meanwhile, these 4 foot sergeants pushed into the rough terrain, the crops there, and are bearing down on the objective. I think if they're not touching it, or not touching it, if they're not within that 3-inch range, then they're very close. So I'm sure they'll be able to capture that in the next turn. So elsewhere, big important combat over here. There was a unit of crossbowmen here, roughly occupying that area. They had moved up and attempted to shoot at the priests. However, they failed their morale check to shoot at a team that was, or a unit that was further away than the closest unit, being the slingers. So that didn't work out. So then they had to shoot at them. And I'm trying to remember, I think that was ineffective. Yeah, there's still just 2 left. So that wasn't really effective. That being said, the militant monks here, they charged into the crossbows and completely eliminated 4 of them, which caused them to fall back. They failed their morale check and ran off the table. This unit of foot sergeants passed the morale check for seeing that unit running away, or their friends running away right next to them. But they did push in and try to cause the combat, they caused the combat, but neither side was able to inflict any casualties. So both sides fell back in relatively good order. Neither of those units has lost any men. So that was turn 1. Again, this is one of those games where there's just such a sequence of things that I could really use a real-time video, but again, my multitasking skills are not that good. So we'll move on to turn 2, see how this plays out. I'm not going to tally up. I think I'm just going to play this for 5 turns, and we'll just see who is holding the most at the end, unless it's entirely decisive before then. I don't think we're going to worry about who's holding 4 objectives right now. But that being said, important to note, even though they're not on them, the rules say that it's whichever unit was last touching an objective counts for it. So for instance, over here, this objective, even though there's nowhere near it, the mounted sergeants in the Lord were holding that. So that one's still within their control, or the sergeant's control. So is that one. That one, I'd have to measure that, but I think it's further away. And then the militant monks own that one, and this one. So yeah, it's actually still everything to play for. So let's see what happens on to turn 2. The second turn is over, and the mounted sergeants and the Lord charged into just that small unit of 3 archers that were there. Were able to kill 2 of them, push 1 back, and then these 2 foot sergeants came in with the killing blow and finished off the last one. So this objective is now in sergeant hands. This objective was captured by this unit of sergeants once they had moved up to take out or finish off that last archer. So they, even though they're not on it now, they were able to capture that objective. Was another exchange of bows from, or not, sorry, it wasn't exchange, but these 4 crossbows moved up slightly and fired on the bowman here, but ineffectively didn't do anything. They then fired into this unit of foot sergeants, and that's why there's only 2 of them left, and you can see they've got a -2 to their morale right now. So that's kind of what happened on that side of the table. Over here, this unit of spearmen charged into the sergeants after they'd taken out the archers or hurt them, but weren't able to really do anything of any real impact. So they broke off, fell back a little bit, but they're still holding this objective quite comfortably, although this small unit of spears might have something to say about that. Over here, I used a command action from the Priest of Wimentun to help the Slingers rally. They were able to do that, so that's why they're now carrying that weary token. And then they used their second action, the militant monks with the Priest of Wimentun as their commander, to charge into this unit here. Now this was interesting. Maybe I felt like they really did a number in the previous turn on the crossbowmen, but these sergeants with mail and with shields seemed to be a tougher prospect. So they weren't able to actually inflict any casualties on them. And then in return, the foot sergeants killed one of the priests, or took one of them as a casualty. So again, a pretty interesting second turn. A lot of action just going off right off the bat. I really do, put that down to the interesting deployment zone that we were able to set up with here. Still, I think everything to play for. Still, I think the sergeants have certainly taken a bit of a beating, but they're not down yet. So we'll move on to turn 3 and see what happens then. At the end of turn 3, we saw this unit of spearmen get into a conflict or combat with this unit. It was somewhat of a stalemate. Both broke off, but then the mounted sergeants and the lords charged into the spearmen here, inflicting 2 casualties and causing them to break and now run away. So you can see the tokens there. Elsewhere, let's see, bad day to be a crossbowman. I feel like in this force on the what I'm calling over on this side of the battlefield, that unit was quite handily eliminated. And then over here, we're just down to one guy left after they took a pretty withering series of arrows from this unit here of bowmen. So they're just down to one. I don't recall there being a kind of a man alone, a last man standing rule in this games, but yeah, it's down to a single figure there. Over here, I think thinking that discretion is the better form of valor. These 2 foot sergeants pulled out of the way behind the building, looking to spring a trap or something maybe in the next turn or so. Then over here, again, more combat between the foot sergeants and the militant monks. This time, the militant monks lost another figure, and the foot sergeants were able to hold. They didn't take any casualties. However, at close range, this unit of slingers are able to fire twice. Or at least, when they're stationary, they're able to fire twice, and they inflicted casualties on that unit there. So that's why they've got their 2 morale points there. So yeah, quite a back and forth game. This interesting to see where we turn next, but let's move on to turn 4. The table has definitely turned in turn 4 in the favor of the sergeants. So they're currently holding 4 of the objectives. The unit of sergeants, mounted sergeants, and the lord charged the fleeing or the broken spearmen that were over here and was able to eliminate them. So they're no longer a factor. Elsewhere, over here, the unit of sergeants was originally here, got shot by the archers, so they're out of the game as well. But this unit of 4 spearmen here, just on the left there, was able to advance up, and as it currently stands, this objective is also still in the hands of the sergeants. So you can see they've got this objective, this objective, this objective, and they've been holding this objective all along. So as it currently stands, they're holding 4 objectives. And as I said, because this initially favored the militant monk side or the priest side, they would have won by having all 4 objectives early on. We're going to play that same way, so we're going to see a turn 5 either way. But elsewhere, let's see. Over here, the crossbowman, the lone crossbowman here, was able to inflict a casualty on the bowman here. But the effect of the 2 foot sergeants that were originally here being eliminated caused him to take a morale check, which he failed. So he's currently broken. Elsewhere, over on this side, the slingers did their slinging and took out the last two foot sergeants that were here. Took out one of them, and then he failed a morale check and broke off the table. And the militant monks and the priest of Oswald the Priest of Wimentun, sensing that something might be afoot, kind of regrouped. But I'm anticipating there might be a fairly decisive charge or final battle round that's going to take place here. So with that being said, let's move on to turn 5, the final turn. The final turn was completely unexpected. I need a moment just to explain how all of this went down. So basically the sergeant's side, the sergeants were in control of 4 objectives. They're really they had the upper hand. The onus was really on the militant monks to really kind of push ahead. So the unit of bowmen over here moved over and claimed the objective. They used their every Bloody Sunday rule that allows them to move a full move and then shoot to kill 2 of the spearmen here, who were more kind of over by that doorway. The spearmen didn't react. They didn't use an action to react or anything like that. So they just kind of pushed back. This lone crossbowman was able to take an action and eliminate one of the archers, or the bowmen. That triggered a 25% reduction in unit size and a subsequent morale check, which they failed, and you can see they broke. This then allowed the 2 remaining spearmen to run over and reclaim the objective. So there was really nothing that the sergeant side really needed to do. This then really forced me to really looking at this, like how could the priest side or the monk side or the militant monk side really do anything about this? And the only option I could really see was having the Priest of Wimentun and his unit come running over here. They were 8 inches away, just kind of around the corner here. I was really not really focused on them ever coming over here, but 8 inches meaning they got a 6-inch move, and they just need to roll a 2 to get into combat. They rolled a 1, so they failed the charge, weren't able to get over here, and that really left the sergeants and the Lord and the slingers over here really doing nothing. I really don't see that the slingers wouldn't be, even if they could get over there, they wouldn't be able to do anything. So with that being said, I think that is really the end of the game. A very bloody game on both sides. Both sides really took a beating here, but at the end of the day, the sergeants were able to really turn the table. I thought they really had their work cut out for them. I'm trying to pull anything off. Even I was even worried, like by the second turn, this was not looking too competitive, but they really pulled something out of the hat, and I think made good use of their abilities and their the different units kind of working together to their advantage. And even though the priest side has still significantly more models when you look at it, they were able to do it. So I hope this was fun to watch. It was fun to play. It's such a nuanced game. I'm gonna guess there were certain, little small rules that I missed or didn't quite get right, but I really did my best. And the more I play it, the more confident I am that I'm not missing too much. I think things like that every Bloody Sunday rule I probably would have forgotten last time, or even just the order of activations I think is really important. The number of morale checks to take, everything like that. It all really adds up. But ultimately, a really fun game, really interesting one, and I hope it was as fun to watch as it was to play. So anyway, thanks for watching.